Skyreels, the new kid in town. Actually, they've been around maybe about 6 months. I'm sure they've been working on it longer, but they really have just started to come into their own as a video creation, AI video creation generator. Now it says all in one, and they're really trying. They have a lot of really nice tools, including an editor, which I have not seen, I don't think, in any other of the platforms. Now, there are AI editors or editors that have AI in them. So I'm sure it's very similar to that to, again, help that person who is trying to have an all-in-one type of a system. And it's really designed to help you create videos that have multiple elements to them or multiple scenes and so forth, and help you generate some of those ideas with their tools. So we'll get into that. I do want to give a shout out to Tim at Theoretically Media, because I actually saw this on his video the other day, and I thought, wow, this is one we need to review too. He does a good job, and I highly recommend you check out his channel. He's been around doing a really good job for a while. So check that out, and let's get into this by comparing Skyreels to other of our favorite video generators. And of course, we'll use the same prompt. We're also going to test the image to video generator element. And what we'll do, because we just compared the Luma Labs in our last video, so we're going to actually extend that with the Cyberpunk. If you recall this one, the different video generators handled it a little bit differently. So I'm curious to compare how Skyreels handles it, because I really think it'll show us where they are in terms of their evolution of developing their system. Now, their system certainly is an attempt of an all-encompassing kind of system. Here are all the tools here. Novel script, in other words, help you write your scripts. Again, visualize your story. This really is what they're trying to do. They have an image generator, which probably is one of the standard APIs out there. I don't think it's their own. I'm not quite sure. Tim thought it might be Flux AI, which I would tend to agree with. Because Flux really is plugged into a lot of different AI generators. Text to speech, text to music, AI sound effects, video generator, that will be the image to video or text to video. This is the area that we're going to focus on today, and video editor, which I think probably deserves its own video altogether. So I have bought a number of credits so I can dive back into Skyreels if it looks like it's really going to be a player. But that's what we're here to figure out. Click on Video Generator. And as you can see here, if you want to add the JPEG, which we will do when we're going to compare the Cyberpunk video, we have auto mode and stable mode. So they seem to have a number of AI models, and auto mode will just select the best one. I recommend you probably leave it there, but you can click on stable mode, which probably means it's not going to switch models. It's just going to stick with one model that's probably maybe one of their better ones or their most efficient one. I do not know which. Then, of course, we have different aspect ratios, not a big selection, just two main ones, and then or 5 or 10-second clips. 10 seconds, pretty nice. So let's start off with a kind of a favorite scenario. Model. So a model walking down a city street with a blue dress and purple gloves. This is the same prompt we'll use with the other video generators. Let's get to it. Pika 2.1, Kling 1.6 in professional mode. And the last video's hero, Luma Labs Dream Machine. So looking at Kling, here we go. Looks natural. We don't see the face, and that's kind of what I was looking for. But I noticed on some of the other videos, it was doing this too. It was showing the model walking away, walking down a city street. So maybe that's what it's about with a blue dress and purple gloves. So I actually had Skyreels do a front version of a person walking down, a model walking down the street towards us looking at the camera. But I'm not going to redo all of them because there is a direct comparison here. So we have people that look normal. This is solid with Kling. So everything, not a bunch of chaos, because this is something I have noticed with Kling. They'll start adding people, which it does seem to happen a little bit. They start adding people and it turns into chaos eventually. Let's see what happened with Luma. So Luma Lab starts with a person, and then there's the dress and the gloves, and well, the hand is a little awkward in this one with Ray 2 here. That's an awkward hand gesture, but I do appreciate that it's just not a straight up color. There's some actual, well, I don't know, some design to the dress, some creativity, which I have certainly noticed with Luma that they can be creative. But there is some elements of the model that, you know, the way she's moving is not really not good. But I have a feeling though that if you redid this a couple times, it might get better on you. So Pika has been like this the whole time, and the other ones have already rendered. So we'll just compare Pika on the Cyberpunk one because that one is already rendered and it did a good job. So I want to see how well it does compared to the new Skyreels. Now let's take a look at Skyreels and what they did. So here's Skyreels, and like others, a model walking down the street, blue dress. No, there's no face, so it did render relatively quickly. Actually, it was the fastest of all of them. And so I said to it, okay, now have the model walking towards us and looking at the camera. And this is what we got next. It's an Asian woman, and yeah, it looks really good. And all the elements seem to hold together. Her movement is good. I say solid overall. And here's Pika. Now, this is one that a lot of the AIs seem to have had trouble with, and I like to use this because often the husky morphs, it doesn't work out well. But let's see how well Skyreels works with it, and of course we'll compare it fresh with the other platforms. Here's what we got from Luma Labs a couple months ago, and they have certainly improved with their new Ray 2. Let's take a look at what that is. So here's a new version with Ray 2. It's always fun to look back and see how far each platform has come along. Still some issues. I'm not totally thrilled with it, but there's some good motion there. Let's take a look at Kling. Here is Kling, and well, once again, it's running away from the camera. And in the past, I really didn't have to ask for that, but if you don't ask quite often, you don't get with the AI. So if you need something very specific, well, there you go. There are some issues around the feet in terms of how it interacts, how the husky interacts with the field. But looking at what Kling has done before, I've been very impressed. And this is Kling 1.6, and it looks good. So I think this is a better comparison, and I think would be probably very similar if we had the husky running towards us. So that was the most current version. Well, both of them are Kling AI 1.6, so it's a fair comparison, but the newer one that we just created honestly wasn't very good for our purposes. And Pika still hasn't even produced the first one. And look at there, a very similar result for Skyreels. So what I did was, and honestly, the motion is not as good as Kling in this situation. And again, this is why I used this prompt, because they often have trouble with this prompt, especially with motion. We'll get morphing in the face sometimes. That's why I liked that last Kling video that I showed you, the earlier one that I created in a different comparison video. So I asked it to turn around and run towards the camera. And here we go. And once again, we have the back of the dog, even though husky running toward the camera through a daisy field. So we did not get that. And I'm not going to go for a third prompt. So this one didn't work out as well for Skyreels. Now let's do the cyberpunk test. So if you want to add an image to do image to video, which is often a good way to go, click open. And this is a nice opening. You can, obviously, you can crop, which is a nice feature, the way it's set up. Now, again, you only have a couple options, but if you do want to turn your horizontal video into vertical, very nice. I like it. That seems to be at least the way this is set up. Obviously, you can do this in other platforms, but this just makes it obvious that it is an option, that it's part of the workflow. And as we know, workflow means a lot when we're trying to create our creative vision. So here we go. Uploaded. And we don't want it to turn into a husky running in through a daisy field, but we're going to use the same prompt that we used for the other ones that we'll compare, which will include Pika this time. Bring to life. And what that does is give the AI a lot of latitude. There's a lot of directions it could go. So let's see what it does. So we'll go right to Pika, and Pika does a really nice job. And again, we've reviewed this in our previous video, but I really like this in terms of a good comparison in which the other AIs did a good job, and we can see kind of where Skyreels actually fits within this process. Over to Kling. Kling is still very good. Camera movement's great, but it kind of overdoes it. And as sometimes Kling does, it adds some chaos to your image, adding more creatures. The one thing I liked about Pika is that it kept it simple. The rain is nice, and Kling just kind of craziness, which happened in a few of the videos. Now let's look at Luma. Luma Labs' Dream Machine did a good job. Nice camera movement, a good in-between spot between Pika and Kling in this situation. So now the question is, how did Skyreels do in comparison? Where does it fit among these three? Here's Skyreels, and not real good with the water, which, if you recall the last video, water was a tough one, and they're having a tough time here. I do like, ultimately, the way it handles some things. The background, they do morph into some more creatures, so honestly, I'm going to put this in the middle of the other variations. I think Pika did a great job. I may even put it third out of the four. But, you may be looking at different things. So what is important to you? How do you think Skyreels did with this? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, continue to watch more videos here on YouTube. We upload every single day, including our podcast on Mondays. We are two creative guys talking AI.